see how we handle that. Sean.
All right, Allison. The Sonic blockbuster ready to get underway. Doug Sermons, Keith Kimball, and Kip Kissinger are the officials. And the tip controlled by Florida State. There's Trent Forrest, their senior point guard. He runs the show. Their leading scorer and rebounder is Devin Vassell. Coach K this morning called one of the best players in the country. They're an excellent three-point shooting team. Their first three of the night rattled out of the hands of Malik Osborne.
Trey Jones, the great point guard for Duke, grabs the rebound. He's going up against Trent Forrest of Florida State, two of the best defenders in the country, guarding each other to start.
Jordan Goldwire to Jones, who was sensational in their rally to beat the Tar Heels. They were 13 down with 4 minutes to go. They got to overtime. They were 5 down in overtime and rallied to win on a buzzer beater by Wendell Moore. But it was Trey Jones who stood above all in that epic game.
He was magnificent. Trey Jones had 28 points, 6 assists, 5 rebounds, and 3 steals against North Carolina. And that play he made at the end of regulation to throw it off the rim and then go get it was amazing.
Trent Forrest fouled on the drive, fouled by Vernon Carey Jr., who actually fouled out in the late stages of that game Saturday night in Chapel Hill. They went to a smaller lineup that created the defensive havoc that got them back in the game.
Right there, Vernon Carey not really in proper position to help on that ball screen. And if Duke was going to try to ice it or down it, they didn't do a very good job because Trent Forrest was able to get all the way into the lane and to the basket with no help side.
Forrest made the first free throw. Now a graduate student out of Chipley, Florida. He has the first 2 points of the game. They're an outstanding foul shooting team, best in the ACC, 10th in the country collectively. The Seminoles 77.7% from the line. And
shooting 80% in ACC games. That is a remarkable number, and one of the reasons you have to keep Florida State off the foul line.
For three out of the corner, no good for Cassius Stanley. Raekwon Gray passed up an open three. They get another look at a three, and it spins off. Shot by Trent Forrest.
Florida State is getting wide open looks. They're just not knocking them down early.
Trey Jones, the first bucket of the ball game for Duke.
Well, Trey Jones is not only a talented basketball player, he's an incredibly smart player. And you are not going to see defenders of his ilk very often. He is an excellent defender.
Raekwon Gray steps into a three. They're off from beyond the arc to start the game. Pass deflected out of bounds by Vernon Carey.
One of the ways you can try to beat this defense is try to beat it down the floor in transition. And Trey Jones does a great job of getting to his left hand and all the way to the basket. And one thing, Jones is not tall, Sean, but he has long arms, and he's an excellent finisher around the hole. He can finish in a lot of different ways, not just layups, but just getting it off the glass and getting it in quickly.
Wendell Moore, he had the buzzer beater in overtime to cap the win. At Chapel Hill, Vernon Carey fouled as he powered his way to the bucket. Malik Osborne didn't like the call. His first foul.
Well, Duke is going to have to continue to attack the paint off the dribble. If they can get the ball into the paint, play drive and kick, they'll have some very good opportunities against this Florida State defense. But that's easier said than done because Florida State is long. They have active hands, and they do a good job. They don't have the same kind of shot blocking they had last year to protect the rim, but they've got a number of different players that can bother your shot, and they average almost 6 blocks a game.
Carey made the first free throw to give Duke its first lead. He's an improving free throw shooter, just 63% for the season, but over the last 3 games, 84%. And he's 2 for 2 tonight. Meanwhile, Florida State 0 for 4 from the floor, all of them 3-point tries, and a travel whistled against Trent Forrest.
Florida State ran a little high horn set with a couple of screens up top to allow the ball handler to get downhill, and Trent Forrest went right into the body of Vernon Carey. Oftentimes that can draw a foul against the big guy.
Jordan Goldwire to Trey Jones. Jones, sophomore from Apple Valley, Minnesota. One of the 10 candidates for the Bob Cousy Award as the best point guard in the country.
Florida State switching screens and exchanges. Devin Vassell is on Vernon Carey.
Cassius Stanley fouled as he drove down the middle of that Florida State defense. Raekwon Gray called for his first foul.
Duke started a lineup of 4 ball handlers around Vernon Carey. So you've got Wendell Moore and Jordan Goldwire, Trey Jones, and Cassius Stanley. That's 4 really perimeter players that can all handle a ball and can all put it on the deck and attack the paint off the dribble.
Stanley made the first free throw. Freshman out of Los Angeles. Sierra Canyon High School. Same school that produced Marvin Bagley. 1 out of 2 for Stanley. And rebounded by Vassell. Patrick Williams, outstanding freshman, number 4 in the game. One of the top recruits in the country coming out of high school into college basketball this year. And that's Dominic Olinichuk, the 7-footer, short with his first shot when he hustles down to block the try by Cassius Stanley.
And MJ Walker really helped to slow the advance so that Olinichuk could block that shot. When he shot in front of Cassius Stanley, that allowed Olinichuk to get back and get a hand on that ball.
Trouble on the inbound. Looked like Trey Jones tried to pull it back and it was too late. Kind of slipped out of his hands. Vassell, sophomore from Sewanee, Georgia. His shot is short. Olinichuk. Wow. Traveling is the call. The Florida State bench thought he was fouled. Leonard Hamilton and Stan Jones, his top assistant, with looks of disbelief.
Physical game. But it's been a physical season overall.
How is your voice holding up? I'm a little worried about you tonight. Actually, it's a dream come true for me if you do lose your voice here tonight. But you're still in recovery from calling that epic game Saturday with Dan Schulman.
Yeah, it's nice to work with a real pro like Dan Schulman, who lets his analysts talk from time to time.
Now, you can't recycle the same joke week after week.
Sure I can.
That jumper off the mark from MJ Walker. Poor shooting to start the game. 0 for 7 for the Noles. Held ball. We're 4 minutes in. And Duke has a 5-2 advantage. And that gets us to finished with 28, 5, and 6. First player in the Duke-North Carolina rivalry on the Duke side to have at least 28, 5, and 5. There have been 5 players on the North Carolina side who've done it. Most recently, Michael Jordan back in 1983. We talked about flipping the switch. How about that number on the bottom, Jay? 18 points. In the final minute of regulation in the 5 minutes of overtime. By himself, he outscored North Carolina by 2. There's a 3 for Cassius Stanley.
Duke able to get into the paint and then kick the ball out to the opposite side. And so far in the game, Sean, Duke has been able to limit Florida State to mostly jump shots.
Foul called as they tried to take it away from Anthony Polite, and Cassius Stanley called for his first foul.
Wendell Moore getting into the paint, drawing 2 defenders, and nobody even gets a hand out on a closeout to Cassius Stanley, who is really emerging as a star. Cassius Stanley had 24 points and 11 boards against Louisville, and he really has emerged.
Jay, to your point, that was just what Florida State was talking about during the last timeout. Charlton Young, their assistant coach, told me, we feel like whoever can force more paint touches will win this game. He said, we had way too many threes. We have to start getting the ball inside. And Leonard Hamilton told his guys, you have to attack. You're moving. Move with purpose and attack the basket.
That's a great point, Allison. You know, you can't jump shoot your way to a win in this game. This is going to be won by the team that can get into the paint and get to the free throw line and put the other team at risk of foul.
Jordan Goldwire, 3. So Coach K was very concerned about his team's physical in the first half. We're down to 14:51 to go. 7 different players have hoisted those shots. That's not unusual. They have 10 players averaging 10 minutes or more per game. They had 16 players appear in their win Saturday at home against Miami. 13 of them scored. It's as balanced a team as you'll find in the country. They'd like anybody to step up right now. Tough shot, and it's made by M.J. Walker, the junior from Riverdale, Georgia.
Such a good defender and shooting 42% from 3 over his last 8 games since that Louisville game. M.J. Walker is a really talented basketball player.
Low wire guarded by Polite. And Jones on the sideline as he tried to retrieve it. It also looked like he traveled. Third turnover committed by Duke. Vernon Carey on the floor for Duke.
Carey is a really difficult matchup for Florida State. He can step out, set a ball screen. If you switch, he's got a smaller guy on him, and he works so hard on the offensive end to get and keep his position.
Tough shot, and it's made by Trent Forrest. He has 4 of their 6 points. 6 minutes gone by. 11-6 Duke.
And to Allison Williams' point, you can see Florida State more resolute in putting the ball in the deck and driving. That's the way they can put the most pressure on this Duke defense.
They doubled Vernon Carey along the baseline, and an offensive foul called as Wendell Moore is called for the charge. His first foul.
And when you drive, it's better to drive after some movement and some action. You've got to make this Florida State defense move before you attack it. And there's a difference in having an older player that's guarding inside and Vernon Carey and a younger player like Carey. If Vernon Carey had been a little more alert, he could have stepped over there and stopped that drive. And that's the next step for him as a player, is to become a more alert defender off the ball. He is such a good talent and such a good offensive player. If he comes along as a defender, he'll be complete.
Patrick Williams, the miss for Florida State. Matthew Hurd on the floor, number 21 for Duke, freshman from Rochester, Minnesota. His playing time's diminished a bit lately. Joey Baker. Now Stanley. Down to 8 to shoot. They double Carey again. He finds Stanley for the lay-in.
A terrific cut by Cassius Stanley, and what an alert pass by Vernon Carey over the shoulder against the double team.
Forrest in for Linachuk, and he scores over Vernon Carey. First bucket for Linachuk. He's from Poland. Grad transfer from Ole Miss. He actually started his collegiate career at Drake, so this is stop number 3 collegiately for Linachuk. Hurt tees up a 3.
Right now, Sean, Florida State is over-helping. You know, and that penetration by Joey Baker, you cannot come off of Matthew Hurt all the way into the lane. Yeah, that's just too big of an area to have to recover on a closeout. Patrick Williams, what a star he's going to be.
Yeah, he is emerging with each game. And then Jones had it blocked. Trent Forrest was part of the team there for Florida State. In transition, Walker fouled by Matthew Hurt. And they gave it to Joey Baker, pardon me, his first.
Well, Trey Jones was trying to get down the floor quickly and play ahead of the Florida State defense, but that shows you how athletic and long Florida State is to block that shot and turn defense into offense.
First free throw missed by M.J. Walker. Coming up next, 9 o'clock, the number 1 team in the nation now for the 4th straight week. Baylor taking on Texas in Austin. And tonight's Wendy's Wooden Watch, one of the Baylor Bears, among the late season top 20. We're down to the final 20 for the Player of the Year award. Jared Butler having an excellent year for the top team in the country.
Well, and Baylor is a legit top team in the country and have performed at that level all year long. They not only have Jared Butler, but Devontae Bandu and Freddie Gillespie is one of the best offensive rebounders in the country, and they want to have one of the best individual defenders in Mark Vidal, who's on the watch list for the National Defensive Player of the Year. As are 2 guys in this game, Devin Vassell and Trey Jones.
Hurt. Steps back for three.
How about that shot fake? Well, he is not a jump shooter, more of a set shooter, but he loads that up quickly.
And he blocks the shot of fellow freshman Patrick Williams.
And has all for an easy two. And there are a lot of different ways to get paint touches. As soon as your man turns his head, Trent Forrest, Cassius Stanley just cuts right to the rim and gets an easy basket because he made a very smart play and a very smart cut.
And an inbounding pass picked off by Baker. And then Raekwon Evans, who threw it away, hustles back to try to help on Carey, who gets called for travel, and they wipe out the bucket.
Wow. That was a fantastic catch by Vernon Carey. I thought they called a foul on the shot. Just a great catch. No, that was a foul called underneath by Doug Sermon. Somebody else must have waved it off and said, no, he traveled first, because Sermon called a foul.
Patrick Williams scored 14 points in each of his last two games against North Carolina and Miami. Both of those wins, Florida State's won 3 in a row, 13 out of 14. Balsha Koprivica, his first shot wouldn't fall from close range. Good ball movement by Duke. Joey Baker got some help from Alex O'Connell. A nifty baseline jumper.
Another very smart cut by Alex O'Connell as Baker was in trouble when he picked up his dribble in the middle of the lane. O'Connell presented himself by cutting toward the baseline.
10-point lead, the largest of the game.
Duke is moving on offense. Florida State is not.
And Williams' shot pops out. Koprivica working at the offensive end on the glass. Couldn't get it for Florida State.
Sean, all of Florida State's action is coming after they catch the ball. Most of Duke's action has come before they catch it. And as a result, their movement is creating space, and then they're attacking that space. Really impressive on the offensive end.
Carey powers to the bucket and missed the shot. He's as big and strong as anybody. 6'10", 270 pounds. Has shed some body fat since he arrived on campus, part of a college weight program. Joey Baker doesn't think he was guilty, but the officials say he is, his second.
Great pass ahead, and then the ball movement. One side of the floor to the other, shot fake, and then a really smart cut back door essentially by Alex O'Connell. And a very nice delivery by Joey Baker. But it's been the player movement and the ball movement on Duke's offensive side of the floor that's been the difference in the game. They're getting a better quality of shot.
They have more assists than Florida State has made field goals. Coach K still complaining about that traveling call against Vernon Carey a few possessions ago. In this matchup, we have two of the 5 winningest coaches in the history of the ACC by total wins. Leonard Hamilton has won 354 games now at Florida State, tied with the great Georgia Tech coach Bobby Crimmins for 5th all-time. All Hall of Famers ahead of him: Coach K, Dean Smith, Roy Williams, and Gary Williams.
Leonard Hamilton, one of the truly outstanding coaches in college basketball, one of the best defensive coaches you'll ever see.
And just now, in his 32nd year as a college head coach, and at age 71, starting to get his recognition for being just that. Coach K couldn't say enough kind things about his friend Leonard Hamilton as a person and as a coach when we visited earlier today. Vassell, nice pass. Evans leaned in, missed the shot. Javin DeLaurier on the floor. Cassius Stanley bumped on the drive by Wyatt Wilkes. His first foul, and the third on Florida State.
Well, Cassius Stanley on that drive should have gone up for a shot there. He saw the contact coming from Wyatt Wilkes. He had an angle, and that would have been a much better job to go up and shoot the ball rather than look to pass it.
Goldwire And now Trey Jones. Mentioned he's a finalist for the Bob Cousy Award. His brother Tyus, now with the Memphis Grizzlies, who was an outstanding player too, tweeted after the game the other night, "Is there any question about who's the best point guard in the country?" He believes it's his younger brother.
Well, he's got a pretty darn good case, especially after Saturday night. But there are a lot of outstanding point guards in the country. Devon Dotson at Kansas, and Ashton Hagans at Kentucky. There's a long list of them, but you can't have that discussion without Trey Jones being right at or near the top.
Goldwire drove into a crowd, lost the ball. Pull up floater. Nicely done. 6 points for Trent Forrest.
You drive into a couple of defenders, you better be really strong with it, because Florida State forces about 17 turnovers a game, and they have about 9 steals per game.
Wendell Moore, kind of a wild drive. Now the bounds. Well defended by Jones. It'll be Florida State ball with 26 to shoot.
Right here, Goldwire takes the ball into the lane, and instead of like slapping at the ball, did you see Trent Forrest went after it with both hands? He went after it to grab it. And you're not going to foul as much, but man, that takes a heck of a defender to be able to pull the ball away from a guard that can handle it as well as Jordan Goldwire can.
Duke an 8-point lead, despite the fact the Blue Devils have turned it over 8 times already. Difference in the game, 3-point shooting. Duke 4 out of 5. Florida State 0 for 5. And now they have a 3. It's Malik Osborne. They went 13 for 26 from behind the 3-point arc in their home win against Miami Saturday. And they scored 99 points against the Canes, who've battled some injuries during this season.
Well, that was the best look they've had, Florida State, since very early in the game when Raquan Gray had an open 3. Other than that, their jump shots have all been challenged.
Wyatt Wilkes, the foul for Florida State, his second at blockbuster. Talk about the success of Florida State recently in particular, Jay, and a lot of people might not realize that they're third in the ACC in conference wins over the last 3+ seasons.
Well, it's amazing how Leonard Hamilton is able to bring in not only so many outstanding players, but the depth of outstanding players that he has. And his players will all play incredibly hard, and they're okay playing, they don't play 30 minutes a game. The highest amount of minutes they have is Trent Forrest, just barely over 30. And they'll play 10, 12 guys a game. And it's remarkable how hard these guys play and how they're willing to sacrifice.
Yeah, and Jay, I talked to some of the Seminoles players about that, and they say they understand what it takes to win, and so they understand they might not get as many minutes and have the stats that some other players in the country might, but they're good with that. And it's something he tells them in recruiting. Like, they know coming in, they are going to play with 10, 11 guys at Florida State, and that's something they sign up for, and that's why they're all in, because they know going in.
Gray tried to throw a lob to the cell. They didn't connect. And Leonard Hamilton also said, we usually just don't recruit that kind of young man. You can often tell, obviously, during the recruitment process, if the player is more concerned about minutes and point totals and shots than team-related things. We just don't bother recruiting that kind of young man.
That's hard to do. But both to Allison's point and yours, I mean, it's great to try to recruit those. There just aren't that many of them. And especially guys that are this good, they want to play more. And these guys play their tails off for 4-minute stretches, and they'll come out, and then somebody else comes in and plays their tail off for 4 minutes. And that makes them really difficult to guard to play against. And you ask any coach in the ACC, they'll tell you cannot run your offense against Florida State. They take you out of everything you want to do.
And Coach K said they're the deepest and most athletic team in the conference, and that certainly seems to be true. Might be the deepest, most athletic team in the country. Mike Krzyzewski said, we visited today, he thinks this Florida State team has the ability to win the NCAA tournament. They've had deep runs the last 2 years. Last year the Sweet 16 lost to Gonzaga out west. 2 years ago, a heartbreaking loss to Michigan in the Elite Eight. Raquan Gray credited with the bucket, and Florida State back within 5 now, as Duke has gone without a field goal for nearly 5 minutes.
Several of Florida State's recent games, they get off to slow starts. It's not a quick start team, but man, they hang in there and keep fighting. And they're able to go on runs because they defend for 40 minutes.
Cassius Stanley had it blocked by Vassell, who runs the floor. One-on-one with Jones. Devin Vassell showing his talents at both ends of the floor. That's his first basket of the night.
For his last 10 games, Vassell is averaging over 16 points and shooting just under 50% from 3. In fact, 50% over his last 4, 11 of 22.
Trey Jones, the response. We talked to Coach K earlier today about Vassell. He said he's a pro. He's an outstanding player at both ends of the floor. Outstanding size.
He's a first-round draft pick. What a play. That's beautiful by Trent Forrest to split the defenders, get all the way to the cup. Forrest was a great, not a good scorer, a great scorer in high school. He scored over 3,000 points in high school. But at Florida State, he's more of a distributor and really keys everything with his defense.
And he's been a do-it-all guy in Tallahassee. Hurt's shot was blocked, but then in the follow-up, there was a foul on Florida State.
Now watch Trent Forrest here, just splitting the defenders off that ball screen, getting all the way to the basket. Just a beautiful move by the senior from Florida.
Well, he has more than 400 assists, over 1,000 points, more than 500 rebounds, over 200 steals in his career.
He's just reliable.
An excellent student as well. Graduated in 3.5 years, now in grad school. Corner 3 off the side of the backboard, out of the hands of Alex O'Connell, with a couple of key threes to help ignite that comeback Saturday night after he didn't play at all in the first half. Raekwon Gray fouled on his way to the basket. Jack White called for his first and Duke's 6th.
Now Florida State playing with a little bit more purpose on the offensive end. They're moving the ball, and then immediately there was a rip and go. And good luck trying to take a charge on Raekwon Gray. He is one big man.
6'8", 260, and he's nimble. We saw that last Monday night in their home win against North Carolina. Tomorrow night it's Super Tuesday. It means a doubleheader, and this time 3 top 20 teams. Coach Cal, 12th ranked Kentucky at Vanderbilt, and then Illinois and Michigan State. There would be 2 top ranked teams, top 20 teams. Michigan State was number 16. They dropped all the way out of the poll.
Yeah, they've lost 3 in a row, and that's going to be a tough game at Assembly Hall at Illinois as well. And then we've got a game day on Saturday. We've got Maryland coming in, so it doesn't get any easier for Spartans.
Well, Michigan State was number 1 in the country in the preseason. Now not in the top 25 after those 3 straight losses. Raekwon Gray called for his 2nd foul. Each team with 6 now here in the first half with 4:19 remaining.
Have you ever broadcast a game from Vanderbilt?
Yes.
It is unique.
It is unique.
Because the benches are on the baseline, and then is it still where I haven't done a game there in a few years? You sit below the court.
Which is what we see now at the Final Four every year, it seems, with these courts on stages in the middle of huge domes. Vernon Carey, the bucket. He's their leading scorer and rebounder at 18 points, nearly 9 rebounds per game, having a relatively quiet first half tonight. Certainly one of the best players in the country.
Just a workhorse.
Vassell a miss. Good work on the offensive glass by Dominic Olinichuk. Surrounded by Blue Devils, and finally the held ball. No, they called 3 seconds. And now the players need to be separated. One of the All right, Kevin, Seth, LaFonso, thank you. I think that was the concern, too, for Coach K tonight, Jay. Florida State's the kind of team that can wear you down, especially when you just had the kind of difficult game that Duke had Saturday night. A lot of players played big minutes under trying circumstances. Trey Jones finds Carey for the flush. Looked like it was going to be a disaster for Duke, but Jones to carry, two of the best players in the country combining there.
Well, Trey Jones is just so poised. It looked like he might turn that ball over, but found Vernon Carey and just lobbed it up to the bucket.
MJ Walker, no. Linachuk, more good work on the offensive glass. Daquan Evans tried to power his way. Jack White held his ground. Jordan Goldwire with a Linachuk, and he scored around the 7-footer.
Oh, what a fabulous finish by Jordan Goldwire. Known as a defender, and he's an excellent one. Duke pushing Florida State further out on the floor.
Vassell, they need it. They get it. Boy, he's smooth.
He leads the team in scoring, rebounding, block shots. He's so rangy on both ends of the floor. He's a rangy defender, but he can shoot from three. He can put it on the deck and never forces shots. In fact, I'm sure Leonard Hamilton would like to see him shoot more.
Jack White tried to lob it into Carey, a little too high. Vassell is able to bat it ahead. Lots of bumping. Patrick Williams fouled on the drive, but that one will put Duke over the limit, so Williams will be at the line for a 1-and-1. The foul on Goldwire, his first.
Yeah, when you feed the post, you can't just look at the post man. You have to look at what's behind him. And there was a lob into Vernon Carey, but a great job of Vassell from coming over from the weak side and knocking that ball away. That was a big-time defensive play by Vassell. He was not only seeing his man, he was playing the ball.
To LaFonso's point a moment ago, another turnover by Duke, their 10th. Williams missed the front end of the 1-and-1. He had made 18 straight free throws. A 90% free throw shooter for the year coming in, but missed the front of the 1-and-1, and then a foul on MJ Walker, which puts them over the limit. First personal.
And there's another look at Devin Vassell, number 24, coming over from the weak side and knocking that ball away. He's such an alert defender. He can defend on the ball, but he's especially good off the ball.
And Trey Jones at the free throw line. 74% for the year. That one pops out on the front end of the 1-and-1. So we're under 2 minutes to go in the half. Duke by 5. Their largest lead was 10. Florida State led very briefly at 2-0. That's it. Koprivica kept it alive for Florida State. A minute and a half to go in the half. Forrest. He'll go to the line.
Really nice job of refusing that ball screen by Koprivica and just taking it baseline.
Javin DeLaurier called for the Duke foul.
Forrest has not been shooting the ball well from three in ACC competition, but he is knocking his free throws down. 86% in ACC games.
Made 13 of his last 14 entering tonight, and he's 3 for 3 tonight. We mentioned everything he does. Scores, rebounds, comes up with steals and assists. He and Bob Sir are the only players in Florida State history with more than 1,000 points, 500 rebounds, 400 assists, and 200 steals. Sir, one of the best players in FSU history.
Played on one of the best teams in Florida State history. Those teams that Pat Kennedy had in the early to mid 90s.
Hurt missed a three. DeLaurier out of bounds to Florida State.
Well, that shot fake that Matthew Hurt has is so good. He doesn't really have to get it very high up into that motion, and you are so worried about him getting that shot off quickly because it's not like he shoots at the apex of his jump. His jumper is very much like Larry Bird's used to be. Really impressive.
All alone underneath. Koprivica the dunk, and the Noles back within one on the first basket of the night. And the freshman, 7'1" from Serbia.
So big, sets a very good screen, stays strong on it, and then he just rolled right to the basket and planted himself under the rim.
Hurt drives it this time and draws the contact. He'll shoot 2. Koprivica called for the foul, his first.
Now take a look at Koprivica here. He's going to come out and set this screen. So here comes a little ball screen. He's going to roll right to the basket. Cassius Stanley needs to come over and pick him up. And instead, he tries to recover out to MJ Walker, and that leaves Koprivica wide open for that easy lob dunk.
Hurt, 75% free throw shooter, doesn't get there a lot. He tends to play on the perimeter. That's his 33rd free throw of the season. Out of Rochester, Minnesota. Player of the year in the state of Minnesota last year, averaged 37.4 points per game and more than 12 rebounds.
Hurt has gotten a lot stronger. Didn't play as much in the last couple games just because of matchups. Playing more physical big guys, but he can really come into this game and spread the floor. And when there's a drive made, he can stretch the defense, and they can kick it to him, and he can knock down a shot. Or you've seen that shot fake and how effective it is.
He played just 6 minutes Saturday night in that classic against North Carolina. Shot clock is off. Florida State struggled to shoot early. They've stabilized, and they are within 1 with 3.6 to go in the half, and a timeout called for Colorado and Oregon. One thing I realized as I watched those faces go past, with the exception of Doris, I think I'm the best looking basketball announcer at ESPN.
You think a lot of things about yourself. Turnover. I'm just looking forward to working with Jeff Van Gundy, the only man to transfer from Yale to Menlo College.
Back to Big Monday, presented by Boost Mobile. It's an ESPN Sonic blockbuster from Cameron Indoor Stadium, sold out for the 468th consecutive game back to 1990. Matthew Hurt leading Duke in the first half with 8 points. Trent Forrest was the best player on the court in the first half. 12 points in a career high, tying 5 steals in one half. Duke led by 10 early on as Florida State struggled to shoot. And as we head for the second half, it's a 1-point lead for the Blue Devils. And we welcome you back inside Cameron Indoor Stadium. Sean McDonough and Jay Billis. And Jay, what stood out to you in that first half as we look ahead?
Well, just how hard both teams played on the defensive end. But Florida State, as Leonard Hamilton told Allison Williams before we went into halftime, they've got to do a better job of moving. And they've been a little bit too stationary on offense, and you can tell from their assist rate. They've only got 4 assists to their 12 field goals. And Trent Forrest has been a big part of why they've had those 12 field goals.
It's the second half now of our Sonic blockbuster matchup. And Florida State trying for just its second lead of the night. They led it 2-0, and they have it on the strong drive by Raekwon Gray, the redshirt sophomore from Fort Lauderdale.
Ball went from one side to the other, got a back cut, and then Raekwon Gray just drove right off that back cut to the open space.
Cassius Stanley fouled as he tried to pass to the wing. Here's Allison Williams.
Well, it's interesting you guys mentioned the ball movement for Florida State because Duke felt like there was too much standing around on their offensive end later in that half. How many times at shoot-around today did Coach Krzyzewski talk about you need to pass and then move? There was not enough of that in the first half for Duke. The other thing that concerned them, obviously, the turnovers. They said Florida State will make you pay if you make mistakes.
Florida State just turned it over, and Trey Jones missed a layup. Cassius Stanley rifled it hard off the leg of Malik Osborne, who was a little slow to stand back up.
Trey Jones missed a layup, but how high he had to put it off the glass to get it over Devin Vassell. This is such a great defensive team. You have to make big-time plays against Florida State because they make it awfully difficult.
Another Duke turnover, and Devin Vassell fouled at the rim after Trey Jones struggled trying to inbound it underneath the basket. Coach K venting to John Shire on the left of your screen. Nate James on the right. Good to see John Shire back. He had an emergency appendectomy a week ago Saturday when they played up in Syracuse. Never made it to the Carrier Dome that night for the game. He said he feels great. A little frustrated he can't get back and work out yet. But he was very grateful for the terrific medical attention he received at Upstate Medical Center. One of the good guys.
One of the great
college
guys.
Basketball, for
One
sure.
of the great guys. Boy, Right, it is so unusual to see Florida State missing free throws. The Seminoles have missed a few. And talking about Duke's turnovers, some of the issues with the Duke turnovers have been they've been live ball turnovers. It's not like they're traveling with the ball and you get to play 5-on-5. A lot of Duke's turnovers have led to advantage situations on the other end for Florida State.
Vassell, after the missed free throws, has it swatted out of bounds.
I think Leonard Hamilton is talking to the official saying, hey, when Vernon Carey came over and bumped my player going to the rim, he was not in legal guarding position there, but he certainly got a hand on the ball to disrupt that.
Wendell Moore with the block. Raekwon Gray, beautiful pass, and the dunk from Malik Osborne, sophomore from Madison, Illinois, in his first year playing for Florida State. And then on the take-back, they got a three that would not fall for M.J. Walker. Stanley had it slapped out of his hand, but he was fouled as he went swiftly down the side of the lane.
Just a beautiful wraparound pass as he drew Vernon Carey. Raekwon Gray was able to drop it off, and Trey Jones not able to get there in helping down. You got to help the helper, but that was just a spectacular pass by Gray.
At the other end, committed his third foul, so he is the first player in the game with 3 fouls, and he'll go to the bench. Patrick Williams back into the game for Florida State. Stanley has 7. We're tied at 36. Nearly 2 minutes gone by in the second half. Florida State just 2-21 all time in this building. Haven't won here since 2012. This was the year they won their only ACC basketball championship. They'd like to add another this year. They have the team to do it for sure. Trey Jones, tough floater, going left, shooting back to his right, and out of bounds. Last touch by Duke.
Boy, Jones, such a good finisher. And in the second half against North Carolina, it was interesting in that game, Sean, when Vernon Carey fouled out. It actually opened up the floor for Duke. They went 5 out, really started driving the ball. It was impressive. And I'm not sure what would have happened if he hadn't fouled out and had stayed in the low post for the entire second half.
Into a smaller group. Ratcheted up the pressure defense. Carey had it knocked away by Forrest, and Forrest lost it as Stanley flicked it out of bounds. It's Florida State ball with nearly a full shot clock. Gavin DeLaurier returns for the Blue Devils, and Vernon Carey goes out.
Well, Vernon Carey not used to grabbing a rebound, having it knocked out of his hands when it's up near or over his head. And you have got to be really alert against Florida State. They are so good defensively.
Osborne transfer from Rice, off target. Good rebound in traffic by Stanley. He got tangled up with Patrick Williams, and they play on. Goldwire. Wendell Moore.
Not the shot.
Nope. Tough fade away from the corner.
Should have thrown the ball back out. Trey Jones was up top and open.
Foul is Goldwire, a little too frisky trying to take it away. That's his second foul. Well, if you joined us late, these two teams tied for second in the ACC with identical records of 10-2, one behind Louisville in the loss column. Louisville's only defeat in the league was against Florida State. They have another matchup to come. Duke lost to Louisville in this building. One of the 3 losses this season for Duke.
And the 7 teams shown there are really the only ACC teams that have a legit shot to make the NCAA tournament.
Goldwire 3. He has 8. He averages 4 per game. Last year he shot 12% from three-point range. This year up to 33%. He went 3 for 25 beyond the arc last year. Williams. And now Forrest.
Goldwire got caught on Forrest on a switch. Osborne on the switch, excuse me.
Corner 3, barely grazed the rim, or did it? The shot clock didn't reset.
That one hit the rim.
And then a Duke foul after Forrest had it in his possession. Coach K wants a shot clock violation.
The second one hit the rim.
Goldwire called for his third foul. He's the first Duke player with 3. Media timeout. As we went to break, saw Coach K arguing that there should have been a shot clock violation against Florida State. As we looked at the replay, you'll see the officials did get it right. The ball is out of the hand of Malik Osborne with the shot clock still at 1, and it did graze the rim. So good work by the officials. And it's Florida State ball with 20 to shoot. They throw it in deep to the backcourt to Patrick Williams. Anthony Polite, Devin Vassell. Now Williams again. Strong drive, and he banks it home over Jordan Goldwire.
Boy, that was a tough drive by Patrick Williams, and he is going to be a great player. 6'8", super athletic, long arms, huge hands. And he can play at a high level on both ends of the floor. He's a really talented defender.
Out of West Charlotte High School, he's back in his home state. He was the number 34 player in the country in high school last year, according to our ESPN experts. Javin Delorier spinning around, held ball, and it'll stick with Duke.
Leonard Hamilton asking, how did he not travel there? He fell down with the ball, unless the officials say he lost the ball and then gathered it when he was on the floor. But really good drive into the middle, and Jordan Goldwire, difficult to do against such a great athlete, but needs to try to keep him out of the middle and force him baseline.
Even harder to do when you're playing with 3 fouls, as Goldwire is. Cassius Stanley, Goldwire with the shot clock running out, buries another 3. He has 11. His career high is 13. In their win here against Pitt on January 28th. He was outstanding in that game, also at 5 rebounds. Devin Vassell, it pops out of bounds. Last touch by Malik Osborne.
Goldwire played great defense on Cole Anthony in the North Carolina game. He's got a near 4-to-1 assist turnover ratio. And he has really improved his offensive game. He doesn't take a lot of shots. But last year, those are shots he wouldn't have taken at all. Another great shot fake by Matthew Hurt.
Cassius Stanley, big miss. Looked like Duke was poised to open up a little bit of breathing room. 14.5 to go. Duke by 4. It's led through most of the night. Forrest fouled on the edge of the lane by Matthew Hurt. His first foul.
Just a great refusal of the ball screen to be able to take it to the baseline side instead of back into the middle.
Trent Forrest inbound. He has 7 steals tonight. That is 3 shy of the single-game Florida State record. Vassell got it back after a couple of Duke players combined and knock it away. Patrick Williams, strong drive, blocking foul called. Williams is going to shoot a pair.
Just bullied his way to the basket, did Patrick Williams, with a left-hand drive. Second time he's done that with the left hand, just going right into the body of Trey Jones, and Jones didn't really have the angle on him, so Williams was able to get all the way to the rim. What a player he's going to be. He's good now, but he's going to be great.
Javin DeLaurier to foul, his second, team's 5th already. Coming up next, as soon as we're finished here in Durham, the #1 team in the nation, the Baylor Bears, squaring off against the Longhorns in Austin. Baylor's won 8 of the last 9 head-to-head, including a 59-44 win in Waco in early January. Of course, you can always watch it live on the ESPN app.
And now with Javin DeLaurier, and he's used primarily as a screener and then an offensive rebounder.
Trey Jones finds some room from the free throw line. He has 10. He averages just under 16 per game.
So much more confident as an offensive player, and with those long arms, has proven to be a really good mid-range shooter.
Devin Vassell backed him in. Be interesting to see if fatigue is a problem for Duke, particularly Jones, who played 42 minutes. Terrible pass by Goldwire, and the dunk by Forrest to tie the game at 44. 14 points tonight for Trent Forrest.
Is that his 8th steal? That's
Correct.
remarkable. That's remarkable.
Their record in Seminole history is 10 steals by Chris Singleton against UNC Greensboro November 19th of 2010. 8 steals is tied for 5th most in a game ever at Florida State.
Well, that's a live ball turnover, and you cannot defend a run out. 1-0, best way to play. To take it the other way for an easy bucket. He's very alert off the ball, and he is one hard playing point guard on the ball. His athleticism, his length, his anticipation, but more importantly, he is really, really smart. A very high basketball IQ.
Historic performance, most steals ever by an opposing player in Cameron Indoor Stadium, which dates back to 1920.
MJ Walker doing a nice job of cutting off the drive of Trey Jones on the right side.
Very the miss, but Stanley there to flush it. I misspoke. This building opened in 1940, not 1920. 81st year is the home venue for Duke basketball. Linachuk missed the jump hook. Williams retrieved it, but couldn't stay in bounds. So the ball in a 2-point lead for Duke with just more than 12.5 to go.
So Vernon Carey going for the shot. Vassell trying to block it. Nobody blocked out Cassius Stanley. And he has a lot of air under his shoes when he leaves the floor. Zion Williamson's vertical leap record at Duke stood for less than a year before Cassius Stanley came in and broke it. That's incredible.
Trey Jones scores with the left hand. He has 12. The lead back to 4 for the Blue Devils. They've won 5 in a row. Vassell. Olinichuk had it knocked away. It might have been a foul on Carey. It was.
It was.
As he hit him from behind, his second. Now, of course, the highlight of every Big Monday, according to Jay Billis, it's Illustrator's Best when we come back.
Better than the Oscars and takes less time.
Well, it's time for the Illustrators Weekly Awards. Billis's Best.
An honor unlike any other for those that are chosen and have earned this. The team of the week is Seton Hall with road wins at Georgetown and a great road win at Villanova. Kevin Willard, the head coach, says that Miles Powell is the best player in the country. Co-player of the week, Trey Jones, who was magnificent in that win against North Carolina in Chapel Hill. And then Javon McCormick of Auburn averaged almost 20 points per game, and he was magnificent against LSU with 26 points, 9 rebounds, 9 assists. And Justin Champagnie of Pittsburgh averaged 25 points a game in Pitt's 2 games last week, including 20 rebounds in those 2 games. Sean McDonough, it is such an honor to be in Illustrator's Best. I hope they can shake this off and continue to play at a high level.
Cassius Stanley called for his 3rd foul. Williams has been on fire from the line, struggling tonight. I have numerous problems with that segment. Is it co-players of the week every week? Because it feels like every week it's co-players of the week.
It is
Do you have
not.
a hard time making decisions?
It
feels like a cop-out a little bit.
It is not a cop-out. That's how great McCormick and Jones were this week, that it demanded co-players of the week. Your objection is overruled.
Well, obviously. But good for Seton Hall. 3-game lead now in the Big East. 10-1 in conference. 3 ahead of Villanova, Marquette, and Creighton.
Can't lead the ball. Got very fortunate there.
And Trey Jones missed. Duke's turned it over 16 times tonight. But Florida State is 1 for 11 from 3, so Duke is still ahead. And then a moving screen called on Dominic Olinichuk to give the ball back to Duke. The first foul on Olinichuk. Allison.
Sean, Florida State wants to adjust their ball screen defense to do a better job of keeping Trey Jones out of the paint. And offensively, Leonard Hamilton told his guys, you need to shore up your play around the basket, but I promise you, if you keep running our offense, trusting the offense, you will be fine.
And Cassius Stanley just dropped it out of bounds in front of his own bench. You saw the note on the screen. Florida State had been a red-hot shooting team from behind the arc, averaging more than 9 threes made per game over the last 6. They have just 1 tonight.
Well, this is the best defensive team in Florida State that Duke has played, but I think Duke is the best defensive team that Florida State has played this year. Duke is one of the top 5 or 6 defensive teams in the country without question.
Florida State with a very strong resume, already 2 wins over teams ranked in the top 10. Of course, Florida has fallen out of the top 10 since that early season game. The Louisville victory stands as one of the most impressive in the country. They hammered Louisville at Louisville, winning by 13 in early January. They'll have the return engagement in Tallahassee on February 24th.
You cannot pass and stand against this defense because it converges. You have to move.
Joey Baker lost it. 3-on-1 break. Forrest's layup wouldn't drop, but he'll go to the line for 2.
What you're seeing right now on the offensive end, you give Florida State a ton of credit for it, but Duke right now passing and standing. And you're going to try to dribble in. Joey Baker tries to dribble into 5 Seminoles, and they are just too athletic and too alert, and they go for the ball. It's almost like in football, you know, when defenders go, they try to punch the ball out now. It's not enough that they try to tackle you. They're trying to get the ball out. And now on drives, Florida State is expert, especially we've seen it with Trent Forrest. They reach for the ball with 2 hands and just take it from you.
Foul on Wendell Moore was his second. Forrest has 16 points. It's a 1-point Duke lead with 10.5 to go here in Durham, North Carolina.
Little 2-3 set. Mike Krzyzewski wants to raise his offense up, give his players a little bit more room to drive and to cut.
Strong play there by Moore. Lowered his shoulder into the defender and has his first basket of the night off his first career double-double Saturday night in Chapel Hill when he had 17 and 10 in the winning bucket at the buzzer at the end of overtime. Baker the miss. Malik Osborne wanted a foul.
Boy, Florida State's going to have to be stronger taking the ball to the basket.
Baker short with a three. Forrest, it's a 4-on-3 break for the moment. And a couple of these Blue Devils really look tired. Javin Deloria very slow to get back on the defensive end. Forrest was able to shed Baker with the fake. He knew it was short. He went after it and got it. Dumps it off for Osborne, who had trouble gathering it in. Vassell for the tie.
Wow. That's a big-time shot by Devin Vassell. It wasn't the prettiest of offensive possessions, but there's not a lot of defense for that kind of shot. Well done by Devin Vassell. He's a big-time player.
He has 9 points tonight.
Good shot fake.
And Baker short with a 2. He's had a tough sequence here. And now a chance for Florida State to take the lead back. They haven't led since 1805 remained when it was 36-35. That was nearly 10 minutes ago.
Duke trying to ice the ball screen, keep it on the left side of the floor.
Osborne down the lane, scoops it up and in. FSU by 2 with 8.5.
Well, Malik Osborne is a transfer from Rice, and he's got really good quickness for his size. He's 6'9", but can really move his feet on both ends of the floor. That was a big-time play.
Timeout Duke.
Well, Malik Osborne catching that ball when Duke was trying to ice the ball screen and was able to get all the way to the rim. And on the switch, a nice pull-up jumper by Vassell. That one tied it.
All right, Kevin, thank you. Here it's a 2-point lead for Florida State. I think back to what Seth Greenberg said in the first half. We did the cut-in with Kevin and LaFonso about don't lean so heavily on the outside shots that you forget about Vernon Carey. Carey's taken 4 shots in the game.
Well, the problem is he's being guarded by long defenders, and it's hard to see him in there because the pressure on the ball has been so good.
Carey's 2 out of 4. He hasn't scored in the second half. Alex O'Connell has. That was a 2 from the corner, deep 2 to tie it up at 52 as we tick down to 8 minutes to go on the start of Big Monday. And the response by Raekwon Evans, junior from Billings, Montana, who is transferred in from North Idaho College, first year playing for the Noles.
In the last 3 games, he's played even better than he did before. Wide open shot for Alex O'Connell out of the corner, got his feet set.
And that was a 3. He's heating back up 2 for 2 from beyond the arc Saturday at Chapel Hill. And a long 3 by Malik Osborne.
He's been the sole 3-point attack for Florida State in this game. Has anybody else hit a 3 besides him?
Vassell's made 1.
Vassell. Good pass.
Carey, they found him, and he finishes.
Well, that's really good poise in the post by Vernon Carey. Raekwon Guay came over from the weak side and bodied him up. And Carey didn't lose his balance, didn't move his pivot foot, just finished the play off the glass. Just a really good pass by Cassius Stanley over the top to get it into Vernon Carey.
And guys, those two actually played against each other in high school, Gary and Carey. And I talked to Raekwon earlier today about it. He said the one thing I remember about Vernon is even when he was in middle school, before I ever even played against him, he was huge. He said, I had no idea he'd become such a great player, but he has always been a huge guy.
Well, if Raekwon Gray thought he was huge, he must have been big.
Malik Osborne, short from three.
And that was not the shot that Leonard Hamilton wanted on that possession.
Trey Jones fouled. Of course, Vernon Carey, dad was an offensive lineman in the NFL for 8 years with the Miami Dolphins. After an outstanding career at the University of Miami, he was a first-round pick, number 19 overall in the NFL draft. And here's Jones after the first foul on Raekwon Evans. This is the first of two. Sports Center tonight after #1 Baylor takes on Texas. The tremendous duo John Bucci-Gross and John Anderson. They'll break down how the Bears can win their first Big 12 title. The Raptors looking for their 15th straight win as they go against the Timberwolves. More information about the women's game that Kevin just told you about, #1 South Carolina and UConn. Sports Center after Big 12 hoops on ESPN and the ESPN app.
He's trying to force Florida State even further out on the floor, out of an operating area. And Devin Vassell saying he doesn't need a ball screen. He's going to take it on his own.
Missed the 16-footer, did Vassell. O'Connell hands it off to Trey Jones. Drives on Vassell. Got all the way to the rim, missed the left-handed layup.
Jones a little slow to get up, and he was upset he didn't get a foul call.
Here's the big fella, Gray. Called for an offensive foul as the defender was approaching. He went to shed him and committed his fourth foul.
Leonard Hamilton cannot believe it. You don't see that call very often. Oh, he did. He pushed off with that
question.
Yeah, that was a good call.
It's Cassius Stanley who hustled back. He just gives him a
just a shove.
Shove up top.
Yeah, good call.
6 team fouls now on Florida State, so they're over the limit on the next one. That's the 4th personal on Raekwon Gray, the first player on either side, one away from disqualification. O'Connell, very hard pass, and Delorier couldn't handle it. Williams in traffic. Williams missed the shorty. Good rebound by Javin Delorier, one of their team captains. He's a captain for the 2nd year in a row.
It's a great job by Trey Jones to stay in front of Patrick Williams. Just make him finish a tough shot.
Jones, a lot of ball handling, couldn't find a seam. Five to shoot. Jones, tough, well defended. And now 2 to tie and 3 for a Florida State lead as we approach 5 minutes remaining.
Even if you get an angle on a drive on a Florida State defender, they're so long and athletic, they can still get there to bother that shot. What a pass.
Raekwon Gray felt the double coming. He fed Williams. He fired an air ball from the corner.
Gray just slipped that ball screen, and that was a bullet to Williams. I'm not sure Duke wanted a jump shot there. After that defensive stop, that would have been a good opportunity to get the ball into the paint and try to hang a foul on Florida State.
4:25 to go. How much do these two teams have in the tank? Raekwon Gray off the mark. In transition. Plenty in the tank for Wendell Moore.
Florida State can't knock down the jump shot. Duke on the break. The nice pass from Trey Jones to Wendell Moore, and Moore avoids the block shot by going to the other side, majoring in English.
ESPN's exclusive presentation of college basketball is presented by Boost Mobile. Switch now, get unlimited gigs for the whole family. The switch that gives you more.
Well, it's not a compliment to say that he's better looking than Sean McDonough.
Well, that goes
but the bar is quite low.
Even I would concede that.
The bar is quite low.
However, comma, looking around the rest of tonight's offerings. 4-point game, 4:01 to go. Duke has the lead, despite the fact it has committed 20 turnovers. Florida State's big problem beyond the arc. 3 for 17 from 3. That's under 18%.
The horn set for Florida State, pretty well defended by Duke.
And a nice floater in traffic by Vassell. They were dangerously close to Koprivica being in the lane for too long.
A really nice cut. Good call out of the timeout. Just Leonard Hamilton able to give his team a little bit of direction so they can get a bucket. And he also calmed the crowd down a little bit, as it was frenzied in here after that great play by Wendell Moore.
Trey Jones. Carey came to screen and moved away. Shot clock to 4. Tough fade away. Off. Carey snatched it and was fouled on the way back up.
Vernon Carey is a two-handed rebounder. He averages about 9 rebounds a game, and he's in the ACC's top 5 in scoring, rebounding, and field goal percentage. He's the only player ranked in the top 5 of those 3 categories, and he doesn't surrender to the blockout. I mean, it's a really difficult thing for Trent Forrest to try to block out that big guy, but he does not surrender to blockouts. He keeps going after the ball.
Anthony Polite to foul his second.
Talking about Vernon Carey being in the top 5 of scoring, rebounding, and field goal percentage in the ACC. There are only 2 other guys that are ranked in the top 10 in those 3 categories, and that's John Mooney and Jordan Nwora. That's pretty select company in this league.
Yeah, John Mooney's a double-double machine for Notre Dame. We'll see him next Monday night from South Bend against North Carolina. And there's where Vernon ranks in those categories. First in field goal percentage, 3rd in points, 4th in rebound, and 6th in block shots. 1 out of 2 from the line. He takes a breather. 3:10 to go.
Gets a breather and a little offense, defense to have Javin Delorier come in to defend.
.14 to shoot. We're under 3 minutes to go. 8 to shoot. Forrest spun away from Stanley and banked it home. It's his night. Trent Forrest with 18.
Well, it required a very good individual play by Forrest, because this is an excellent defensive lineup that Duke's got on the floor right now. Very versatile. They can switch everything.
Now on the offensive end without Carey. Wendell Moore 1-1 on Vassell. Jordan Goldwire at the end of the shot clock rolls it in.
Well, what a game Jordan Goldwire has had. Not only on the defensive end, where he is always a stalwart, but his offense has been a huge factor in this game.
He's tied his career high with 13 points. 3-point game, under 2 minutes to go. Koprivica again in the lane a long time, and they grab him on the catch.
Goldwire got hit hard there. He was trying to guard. He got caught on a switch trying to guard Koprivica. Koprivica's 7 feet tall.
First foul on Trey Jones. Both teams are over the limit now. The next foul on Duke will be the 10th and the double bonus. Goldwire limps off still in pain. And here's Balsha Koprivica at the free throw line. 70% for the year, not there a lot. 21 out of 30. Way short. The best free throw shooting team in the league, way below their usual numbers. Almost 78% for the year, 60% tonight on 12 out of 20.
Perry's got to come out and set a screen and see if they can get a switch. That way he's being guarded by the smaller player. Koprivica on a guard. There it is. There's the switch.
And Jones got away from Koprivica, missed the shot. Saved and then turned back over to Carey. Big mistake made by Trent Forrest.
Yeah, they're going to have to look at that to see. Well, they got to reset the shot clock, but to see if who that went off of.
And Forrest was about to fall out of bounds, wanted to throw it someplace, but threw it to the wrong place.
Well, Anthony Polite was out of bounds when he touched the ball, so that'll be Duke's basketball.
In a well-officiated game, Doug Sermons and Kip Kissinger there working tonight along with Keith Kimball.
This shouldn't take very long. Polite was out of bounds when he touched the ball. Now watch number 2 there and watch his foot is out of bounds and he touches the ball. That is out of bounds off Florida State. And just because we've seen it though doesn't mean the officials have seen it yet. They don't get their replays from ESPN. They get them from something called DB Sport.
Duke by 3. They'll have the ball, we think.
And they're asking for a different angle right now, so clearly they haven't seen that Polite was stepping out of bounds.
Well,
otherwise
if they just take
open.
the feed provided by our great producer Eric Bosley, our director Doug Holmes, and this outstanding Big Monday crew, this would have been resolved by now.
You could run down there and tell them.
Is it? Yeah, we get yelled at.
Run down there and tell them.
No, ordinarily we're courtside, but up here we're in our floating sauna suspended from the ceiling. And here's the look again. I mean, clearly Polite is out of bounds.
Yeah, it's not even close.
No. Here we are. They still have to climb the ladder anymore.
That was my favorite part of getting up here. It's the most athletic thing I do all day.
That is for sure. Florida State looking for a huge win. As we mentioned, 2-21 all-time here. The 20-3 start is tied for the best in school history through 23 games, and that other 20-3 start was back in 1969-70, led by the great Dave Cowens.
Did they just give that ball to Florida State?
How?
Now, how does that work? That's interesting.
When Polite touches the ball, he's out of bounds.
He is out of bounds. And now maybe they didn't see the replays we did. I don't know. But that's a very odd. That's an odd outcome.
So 21 turnovers. One shy of the Duke season high, which came in their upset loss here to Stephen F. Austin. Down by 3. 1:15 to go. Gray off to Osborne. He got bumped, no call. Walker in trouble. Good ball movement. Vassell for the tie. Short. That's been a problem all night long, but Osborne kept it alive with a minute to go. Forrest the floater. Way off and grabbed by Delorier. And there was a whistle. Foul on Raekwon Gray, and he's fouled out. Gray had 6 points, 2 rebounds, 3 assists in 17 minutes. It's the 8th team foul against the Seminoles, so this will be a 1-and-1 for Javin Delorier, the senior from Shipman, Virginia. 64.7 for the year from the line, rounded up to 65. Hasn't been there tonight. 22 out of 34 for the year.
makes it a 2-possession game, Sean, but that doesn't mean that Florida State has to come down and get a 3. They can take the ball to the rim, put Duke in a position to foul. I think you'll see Duke press up to try to make it difficult for Florida State to bring the ball down the floor and not let them walk into offense.
2 clutch free throws by Delorier. 5-point game, 48 to go.
A terrific block by Javin Delorier, but Osborne right there
for his 12th point. And a timeout called quickly by Leonard Hamilton with the Seminoles down by 3.
And this is why you want to go to the rim and not settle for a jump shot. You take it to the rim, you give yourself the opportunity to get fouled and the opportunity for an offensive rebound.
So the winner of this game will be alone in second place in the ACC behind Louisville. Florida State plays Louisville again on February 24th. That's 2 weeks from tonight. That'll be our big Monday offering. The Noles do not play Duke again, nor does Duke play Louisville again in this regular season.
Right now, 45 seconds to go in regulation. Florida State down by 3. And you're going to see the Seminoles put full court pressure on. Patrick Williams will defend the ball out of bounds, trying to get a deflection. They'll try to get a trap, take the ball away. There's really no need for Florida State to foul right away. They can play this out if they want to, but I think you'll see them take some chances and try to get a steal here.
Trying to pressure Jones, never really did get close to him. Now Cassius Stanley. He's a good free throw shooter if they choose to foul.
You can really go after the ball without worry, but right now if further gets down, you don't want to foul.
Under a half minute to go in regulation time. Duke with the ball up by 3.
This is really relying on your defense. There's a lot of time to give away.
Jones blocked. And they heave by Wendell Moore. Lines back up with Hurt. And contact and a foul call. And I believe it's going on Florida State.
It is. The official is saying that Florida State was in Matthew Hurt's cylinder. It was Trent Forrest. So he got hit with an elbow, it looked like, in the face, but they're saying he was in the cylinder. You don't often see that called in the lane. That's an interesting interpretation of in the cylinder.
Well, what does it mean? Because, I mean, he has room on the catch, does Hurt, and then it looks like he goes flailing his elbows into Forrest.
Well, that's the point. But they're saying that Forrest was in his cylinder. He's in that imaginary.
Well, would you agree with that?
I don't. Especially when you're right there in the lane. Usually, in the cylinder means that you've crowded a player with the ball on the perimeter.
Call, in my opinion.
It is very unusual. Let's put it that way.
He taps it to himself. I mean, that's
not a cylinder play.
Yeah.
That's he thought the referee just didn't want to deal with it. That's not a cylinder issue. That's 2 guys going after a rebound.
I believe there might be a contact lens issue for Trent Forrest. The reason for the delay. There's some controversial calls each way. The end of that Duke North Carolina game on Saturday night. And this is another one. Well, we have a second. Let's send you back to Kevin in the studio. And stepping to the center of that drama is Matthew Hurt, the freshman. 75% free throw shooter. This is a 1-and-1. Huge. 9 points for Hurt. Well, can Florida State mimic Duke's magic from the end of regulation and the end of overtime Saturday night? They're down 5 with under 12 to go. They're 3 for 18 from 3 tonight.
Got to get this all the way to the rim.
Good job by Duke to slow the advance. Williams floater off, tipped up and in with 3.4 to go. I believe it was Malik Osborne. So it's a 3-point game with 3.4 to go. And Duke ball.
Really what Florida State has to do here is one of two things. They've either got to get a 5-second call or they have to get a deflection steal right away. It is awfully difficult if they want a foul to have to go down to the other end. There's not enough time. So you've got to get a steal or a 5-second call. And with the length that Florida State can put on the ball, they can make it difficult to get the ball in bounds.
Leonard Hamilton, after conferring with his top assistant, Stan Jones, there on the left, adjusting his tie. Stan's been with him for 25 years. Charlton Young, Steve Smith, the other assistants for Florida State.
Stan Jones, one of the truly great assistant coaches in basketball. Great tactician, fantastic teacher.
He was a high school coach when Leonard Hamilton found him. Quarter century ago, he said, I wanted somebody who was a great teacher more than anything else. And he is. So go for the steal, obviously, and if you don't get it, the quick foul.
Yeah, the quick foul, but you foul, and it's basically game over. That would be a miracle. You've got to get a 5-second call or a quick steal and a 3. And everybody has to be alert to the fact that you have to have a 3.
Wendell Moore playing it in, Williams defending. They get it into Hurt, and they grab him. The second came off the clock. 2.4 to go. Hurt back to the line. That will be a double bonus now. It's the 10th team foul against FSU. Wonder about the hangover after the North Carolina game. Mike Krzyzewski very concerned earlier today, but if Duke hangs on and wins this one, it'll be 11 straight wins for them in the game after a North Carolina game. That one should ice it. An impressive performance. They were able to put Saturday night behind them, led through most of the game. Desperation heat, almost went in for the sell. And that's it. Duke has won 6 in a row. They go to 21-3. They're alone in second place behind Louisville in the ACC. Final score, Duke 70, Florida State 65. For Jay Billis and Allison Williams, Sean McDonough saying good night from Durham. Now let's send you to Austin, Texas.